YouTube, what's going on? The Palo Santo lit, y'all. So y'all know what that means, man. Thank y'all for tapping that thumbnail. Appreciate y'all. Welcome to all of the subscribers. And thank you for the new subscribers and welcome. And hopefully you get enough value today to want to return. Welcome to JB Waters. I'm Waters for short, and this has become Better More Money. And for all those that know, y'all know I'm short with the intros. I don't like to be all long with the intros. So as I always say, y'all see in the title. So yeah, man, this is something that hit me. And as I say, every time I have my videos, I always got to give a little backstory behind how this came about to me. So I don't know, I think I was like in the kitchen or something, walking around, and there might have been like some stocks or something that I was looking at. And I think I was just thinking about the journey of just money and seeing where my parents are and seeing where, family is when it comes to money. And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I think like Black kids were trained to waste money and be afraid of money, and it's something that I think is changing now. And, that's why I say was. And I hope that we're getting better with this. And I hope that we're moving forward with understanding how important it is for our kids to not be afraid of money and not be afraid to talk about money and to hear about money and to understand money. But, I thought about it for a while and it really got me to the point to where I was just like, you know what, like growing up for Black kids, and you tell me, everybody, tap in, make sure y'all hit that subscribe too before we get too far. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe, that like, and that share. But, let me know where, y'all from, and let me know where area you from and your age without telling me your age type shit, you know what I mean? But I know for my age and growing up in my era, you were afraid to voice your opinion to your parents a certain way. Like Black kids were afraid to address their parents, and we all grew up with this whole like RESPCT me type shit, you know what I'm saying? And like you grew up with that with your mama, with your daddy. It was always respect and obedience. And I think a lot of that came from a few different things. I know I try to break things down in threes, but I think the main reason, or the first thing that really started this whole respect me, not having a voice, gatekeeping financial conversations, gatekeeping money, is derived from slavery. And I'm gonna try to keep this, under 25, 30 minutes. Más o menos, pero it is what it is. But I think slavery was one of the main things, or the main driving forces behind why money conversations are very, very fragile when it comes to adults and parents and their kids. It's already fragile when it comes to husbands and wives, boyfriends and girlfriends, spouses, but really, really fragile when it comes to like letting your kids be involved with understanding the money conversation of the house and of the family, or asking for money or knowing about money. And like I said, a lot of times you had this fear in you to not even want to voice yourself to your parents, or make sure that you were just treading lightly when you spoke to your parents. And once again, depending on how you grew up, where you grew up, and the background that you had and the age that you are, you were feeling that as well, and you grew up in that household. Thank God my mom, and my pops, my dad, my stepdad, they were, Christians. So they raised me as righteously and, followed the Bible and everything, but it still had some of like their parents in it, and who wasn't Christian. My mom's mom wasn't a Christian, and, my dad's parents, they wasn't really into church too much. So it was more my parents who really took the church religious side of just raising their kids. But you can still see some of that whole like afraid to voice yourself or afraid to speak. And, growing up as a kid, I was really like somewhat afraid, because I feel like God put just a natural rebellious spirit in me, and I've learned to channel that, and I know it's going to continue to grow into great things. But I still had that like, oh, let me be hesitant to say things, or like really afraid to have these conversations. And I think it goes back to slavery. And I have a conversation that I tell my homie, and I always refer to him, but y'all still go make sure y'all tap in on IG, Wise Words from the Homie. But I had a conversation with him sometime, and we'll talk about just how financial literacy is not a huge thing for our parents. And I always have to, remind him and other comrades and myself too, that for Black people, every generation you go back, you're closer to slavery. So if you ever get confused about why anybody in your family that's older than you act any type of way, just remember that the farther you go back, the closer that person was to slavery. Cool, not every person that has Black or brown bloodline skin was a slave. There was Black people and brown people that were already in America. All of that deep shit that we can get into that I'm very well versed on. But let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, if you go back farther and farther, most likely somebody within your bloodline does have some type of slavery philosophy behind them, which is oppression, which is fear, which is not understanding the structure of a household, which is not understanding the ability to have financial conversations, because that was not nothing that was even taught or even acknowledged or even given the ability to have as a right. So I think when you understand that a lot of the fear that comes from not allowing your kids to have that financial conversation and keeping them out, and being able to say that this is for your dad and this is, a man's conversation, and the father holds the funds and the powers and the money, then you'll really understand that it's because of the level that we came from when we were young, in our first beginning stages of actually being a Black person, an African American, a citizen with humanity rights within this country. And that's why I say young, because if you compare, how free Black people have been in this country in comparison to humanity and society and time and civilization, then that shit's small as hell. You know what I'm saying? So how young we were to this structure, to this machine, to this government, to this what I love to call a machine called America, this experiment, so I think a lot of that whole Black kids were raised or trained to be indirectly trained to be afraid of money and waste money is because of that. It's because of that old philosophy that has been instilled in our parents. When your mama was afraid to talk to money about her mama, when your mama was afraid to talk about money with her mama, or even probably would only dare to think about talking about with her father if the fathers was around, all of that structure. So I think a lot of that is still carrying over to this day, which hopefully, like I said, the current generation, if you're a millennial, even if you are a Gen X and you are like, okay, I'm in my 50s and 60s and, I learn better. I learn from my kids and I want to make sure my grandkids have a different philosophy, then, kudos to you. You should pat yourself on the back, because you are paving the path to create a new path. That's something that hasn't been walked before for our race of people in this country, for the Black and the brown people. And that's a beautiful thing, but we have to address, is this common? Is this being seen? And if it is being seen, then why? So we can identify and then iterate and change and then move forward and then kind of look back and analyze the progression that we're having and change the areas where we need to grow and where we need to do iterations again to figure out, okay, where are we messing up at? Where do we need to go with this? We tried this, now let's try something else. So that's the first part. The second thing, I think, why Black kids, brown kids, Black and brown kids are and were trained to be afraid of money is something I talk about with my kids, similar to kind of like the voice, kids not having voices and Black kids feeling like they can't say things to their parents, but also that conversation of, and this is a big one. I'm gonna have to cut off somewhere and make a short for this, but grown people and adults having that this is grown folks' business. That this is grown folks' business. And I think the disservice of adults who have that narrative with their kids of this is grown folks' business and you don't need to think about this or worry about this is a disservice, because one day that child will have to understand grown folks' business. And if they are kicked out of grown folks' business every time when they're young, it will be harder for them to truly understand what grown folks' business is, and for them to be able to adjust to the learning curve that comes with being an adult and having grown folks' business before it comes too late. So I think that it's something we need to start paying attention to more. And understanding that sometimes grown folks business is not just for grown folks, but grown folks business is for kids as well, because they will be grown folks one day and they will need to understand this. And you have to see where you fall in with that if you are 50, 40, 60 and you're saying that, because what we're doing as adults is we're giving the children a world that we're creating for them to live in, but for us to be ruled under. And I'll break that down. So the world that we're creating, all the people who are alive right now, 40, 50, 60, who are in their prime income rate, prime labor rate, or prime labor age, or range, excuse me, not rate, their prime income range and their prime labor and working range, we are creating the systems that one day the kids who are younger, they're the 5, 10, 15, they will have to work those systems. And all we will be doing is being ran under those systems, because we'll be 60, 70, 80. And yes, technology will change. And people are saying the life expectancy rate will grow to where people can live to be closer to 95 and all that. But still, I don't give a fuck what they say. We're years from where you're 95 and you can move like you're 50 again and 60 again. So when you're 95, you're not going to be trying to do that much moving. And 90, you ain't going to be trying to do that much moving. So you want to be able to create a world that people who are 40 and 30 and 50 are willing to bring you into what's going on, and you don't feel like you are left behind and not feeling like you have a place, even if you only have 10 years left. Like, who cares? You got 10 years left. Nobody wants to have a miserable 10 years. Like, nobody wants to do that. And if you have the ability to be able to be 80, and you have your knees and your body's working and functioning well, you want to be able to walk out in society and feel like you're not going to get ran over, literally or by people figuratively, because you just wasn't a part of the growth that happened within a certain amount of time, because we overlooked the young folks. We overlooked the kids and said, no, this isn't for you. This is just for grown folks. And then they grew up and don't know how to navigate the world. And then they created something that we didn't have a hand in making, when we could have gave them some good advice and made them feel included. And that's the biggest type of diversity, equity, inclusion, including in the youth and the things that they really need to understand without having to be that age first. And that's why my kids are 14 and they're 11, and I somewhat still treat them 5 or 6 years older than they really are, because I see the future. I pride myself on being somebody who is considered to be a futurist, and I take that seriously. So I think another thing that we're doing wrong is why kids are afraid of money and waste money, and are being trained to waste and be afraid of money, is because money is a grown folks conversation, a grown folks business. But you better go on over there, sit down. Like, I'm from that era. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm from that era with folks like, the grown folks though, and I still would be nosy and running the streets, because I'm just like, my mom was already way ahead of my age. So I'm just like, what do y'all mean? What y'all talking about? And there's a lot of things that I think if people didn't put me in a grown folks box, I wouldn't have to learn the hard way. But, it is like, it is what it is. So it's like you understand that once you understand what it means to you from your perspective, and not just putting your parents or your adults or the elders or people who are higher than you on a pedestal for you to be inquisitive and go out and search on your own, and I know everybody doesn't think like me. So I think it was another reason why I wanted to bring this video to the forefront and say, you know what? We need to stop treating kids like they're kids who would never become adults. You need to start treating a child like, you know what? I would be so old. I want this child to be able to walk and help me across the street, even if we do have AI with hovercraft that can pull old folks across the fucking street, or robots and all that. You're going to want a human then, especially if you 80 years old, and what we in, we pretty much year 2025, and, let's say 50 years from now, we'd be 80, we'd be 2075. They're going to have robots way before then. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want a human being to be dealing with you by 2075, and you up here. No, I don't want the kid. And the kids, if you're not treating them like that, they're going to know. They're going to know if you one of them old mean person, or you one of them old folks who always disregarded children. Because hopefully you change if you grow up that way, and you really be able to see how life is, and you evolve and grow and change and become better, then you won't be that way. But it's important to see that with kids, and see where they are and how they are with everything they have going. And y'all make sure y'all, man, hit that subscribe, man. Go ahead and hit that subscribe, and go ahead and hit them comments too, and tell me where y'all from, man. I'm just really saying that because I really be wanting to vibe with y'all in the comments, for real, for real. Not even just for the algorithm, just because I just be want to hear people's perspective. Some, yo, fuck you, I don't like that. That shit is trash. I don't care. Thank you for your words. Appreciate you. There's a reason why I'm words by waters. But anyway, not to run off on a tangent. So that's the first thing, y'all. Understanding how slavery, our past, have affected the kids and the ability to be indifferent to money or afraid of money or waste money. And also that narrative that's in our households, in our society, in our neighborhoods of this is grown folks' business, this isn't for you, is shooting ourselves in the foot. Because you got to realize one day somebody's going to have to take care of you, you know? And I tell that to the shorties that be running out here, oh, I want to travel the world, and all the passport bros, that's all on that shit. Who is you setting, how are you setting your life up to be able to be saying when you slow down and your damn testosterone slow down and your estrogen slow down and your knees start hurting and your back hurting, how are you setting yourself up for those years? Like, who gonna be rocking with you then? Who you gonna have to take care of you then? Everybody's so quick to hop on a flight and go shake their ass and go to fucking Colombia and fuck with some girls and all that. And I don't even get me started. My kids that have Colombia, I don't even be hype over Colombia like that. Dudes just running to Medellin and shit. But anyway, who are you gonna be setting yourself up to be involved in your life around that age when you feel like you're just not working the way you used to work? Are you thinking about that? Why are people not thinking about, you know what? How am I setting my life up for when I don't have the energy that I have now? When I don't have the testosterone, the libido that I have now, the sex drive that I have now, the vigor that I have now, the zeal that I have now? How am I setting my life up to be taken care of in those years? Am I setting up the right relationships for people to respect me when I'm 60? Am I setting up the right engagements and putting out the right energy in the world for people to respect me when I'm in my 50s and 60s and I actually want to sit down and my knees hurt, my back hurt, and my hair start falling out? People not thinking about those things. We just want to hop on a flight and go somewhere and see the whole world. And it's like, that's cool, but what are you doing to your community on a daily and the kids that you have around you that really will be affecting the economy? Y'all, trust me, y'all don't want an economy full of kids who don't know about fucking money. You don't want these 5-year-olds and these 10-year-old kids to not know about money. I promise you, because it's going to be a small few that do, and then a big few that don't, and then everybody else gonna get left in between. And if you left in the cracks, you ain't got your life together now. If you in your 30s and 20s, and like I said, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, you're gonna be pushing 50, 60. Just watch. And the last thing I think is, and I think this is something that is the biggest part to me, is the kids and the Black kids feeling like something not for them. Like just really thinking like, you know what? Money isn't for me. Like I wasn't meant to be rich, or I wasn't meant to understand money. And if y'all see how the fuck this connects, hopefully you walk away from this shit like it makes sense. If you were a fucking slave and you came from not feeling worthy enough, and your parents translated that to their kids, and their kids translated that to their kids, and now the narrative is, hey, I wasn't good enough. And now the narrative is, hey, what we learned about isn't for you, because you're not good enough for it. So telling a kid this is grown folks' business is indirectly saying you're not good enough. And that might not what you made, and that might not be exactly what you're trying to say, but it still has that foundational narrative and that foundational, what's the word I'm looking for? Like energy coming off as if that's what it seems like, especially if you're willing to look from somebody else's perspective like a kid and ingest that and receive it. And then imagine if you take all of those not good enough energies, and the last thing you're going to be left with is what I just said. You're just going to feel like it's not for you. Like, well, we were already told we wasn't shit. And now the people that's raising me, telling me this, I'm not for this. This isn't for me. This is for them and not for me. Are you going to be left with this? You know what? I'm not good enough for this anyway. Why should I care about this $5? Why should I care about this $10? Why should I ask for more money at my job? Why should I ask about how did this work? And why should I ask my mom, why do we live in this apartment instead of that one? Why should I ask my parents, how come we can't live over there? And it's not out of a jealousy thing. It's out of a true question. Like I tell my kids all the time, like, y'all, this is the type of money we have. This is the type of car we have. This is the type of based off what we have for our standards. You know what I'm saying? And we ain't even living bad. We living great, to be honest. But we can be living greater, And I still tell them that, like, well, this is what we have right now because this is what we're making and this is what that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want people to be like, you know what? get to the point, and this is y'all, I'm not telling nobody how to raise their kids, but I want the world and black kids at least and brown kids to be able to go to their parents and be like, why do we live here instead of there? And the parents be confident with telling them that. Like, that's my goal for us, for black and brown parents, to feel comfortable enough with their kids where their kids can ask them about their financial situations and their parents have an answer or a plan to give them and feel confident about it. It's not no ego. It's not no insecurity coming up and being like, you a damn kid, you checking me about my, because a lot of it is that too, but it all goes back to that. We never had shit. So now we feel like you not for this because we still trying to figure it out ourselves, and this ain't for you because we kind of still feel like it ain't for us because that's what was told to us. And now you walking around the house feeling like it ain't for you. And it's a circle and a circle and a circle. So hopefully that helps somebody. Hopefully that gives some perspective. Like I said, y'all, hit the comments. Tell your boy what the fuck you think too. Let me chill out. I've been working so hard, man. Oh yeah, make sure y'all go check out jbwaters.com too. You know what I'm saying? The book is up. I'm waiting on a couple of more proof copies, and then I'll be having a whole bunch of YouTube shorts and everything just to give y'all an insight of what you missing out on, what you could have. This could be you if you went to the website. But nah, seriously, y'all. Thank y'all. All jokes aside, man. Appreciate y'all. We almost to 200 subscribers. Let's get this thing to 200 subscribers. 300, 400, 500, 1,000. Y más, todo eso. Let's go. But I appreciate y'all for checking in, for being able to hit that thumbnail. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Sharing is caring. And when you're caring, you are sharing. Remember to stay well, be conscious, and write your world into existence. Love, Waters.